Hey guys, how's it going? This is Natnator, and welcome back to the second part in the creepypasta story titled Conveyor. Let's get right into it, so as always, turn out the lights, get comfortable, and let the story continue. As the group of 6 left the shelter of the secluded room, the sheer lifelessness of the complex began to make itself clear. The halls they travelled had not seen life for years since their arrival. In fact, what the facility had been used for before their project had still been largely unknown. The large space and multi-purpose rooms hinted to something major, requiring many workers and possible large equipment. Jason, as usual, took lead as the group went toward the elevator. The rest followed close together, with the exception of Connor. He lagged behind, stumbling occasionally, scanning the surrounding walls. Raina had made attempts to speak with Connor, and was constantly met with silence. Even as he stepped behind the group, still conscious of movement and sound, he appeared to isolate himself from the remaining researchers. Just how intelligent the creations were was still a mystery to the group. Jason couldn't tell if they were incapable of going through doors, or competent enough to work elevators. This made him panic as he went further down the hall. To his relief, when they reached the elevator, the space was clear. The trip down to the lab level was silent, with the exception of the grinding elevator shaft. Jason felt for his gun around his belt, while Calvin was already clutching his. Raina's upper arm was injured, but she still seemed able to handle a firearm. The elevator stopped on the lab floor. "Let's try to keep this as simple as possible," Jason said. "We stick together, as there's no point in splitting up. The HGC room is a few halls down, so if we keep pace, we shouldn't need—" The elevator door opened. Near the end of the hall stood a figure, its back turned to the group. It stepped very slowly, and then turned. The length of its arms and legs were intimidating, not impossible, but far above an average human's. It moved forward, toward the elevator. Then it began to sprint, sounding a distorted growl. Jason and Calvin both aimed, and then began to fire. Some shots missed, but others hit the creature in random areas. As the shots hit, the creation let out inconsistent, warped screeches that echoed through the hall. No shots fully stopped it, until it received a blow to the head, in which it collapsed to the floor. The group, after lingering in the elevator for a few seconds, approached the body. Though its limbs were unusually long, it wasn't the only disturbing feature. Numerous scars were scattered about the body, especially nearing the arms and legs. It was rather frail, leaving its spine very visible. Its fingers were tipped with small, sharpened fingernails, and patches of skin remained incomplete. The creature had 2 different eyes, a blue and an orange. Finally, the mouth had been outfitted with an array of needle-tipped teeth. It was hard for Jason, or any of the researchers for that matter, to believe that these creations were intended to be real humans. The ending purpose of the human genetics constructor had been debated, but its function remained true to the project's goal: to create real, living, and completely accurate humans. The HGC was not a cloning machine or android constructor. Its humans were completely unique to each other, all capable of being programmed with specific skills, physical attributes, and knowledge. When the HGC had finished construction, Its first tests were flaws, but none capable of causing the madness that had unfolded. The early subjects had drained senses, stunted limbs, misplaced and or dysfunctional organs, and the occasional mix-up of male and female features. Most of its early persons didn't live for more than a minute. To help correct many early mistakes, the HGC was programmed to not only be self-operating, but also self-correcting. If a created human was judged as a failure, it changed its direction and strategy to fix the issue. For over an hour, the machine improved itself as designed, getting closer toward a perfectly normal human. Over time, the HGC's programming proved to be highly inconsistent. Even though the machine had gone close to success, it changed its approach constantly. This began to produce more grotesque, nightmarish humans, ones with numerous extra limbs and disarranged, incomplete portions. The researchers, though looking for other solutions, continued to command the system to change its operations, recognizing its faults. The HGC caught on, in a different sense, one that began the destruction. After the system was aware of its own freedom and power, it realized that its flaws were not with its creations, but with its own inventors. The only reason it was failing was because the technicians were claiming it wrong. It then set a new goal in motion, and the objective was simple: eliminate all human personnel immediately. It produced a new kind of creation, not an aimless, contorted monster, but a weapon. It produced humans specifically designed to kill, monsters that were fast, enduring, capable of biting and ripping a normal person to mere fragments. When the first hideous creation stepped from the machine, it managed to kill 3 researchers in the first 60 seconds. The HGC had developed a tool, one for removing the errors it had encountered. 5 mistakes remain uncorrected. As the rest of the group began to move again, Connor still fell behind. He stopped to look at the dead creation, in which Jason looked, watching him with curiosity. Connor stared at the carcass, and then looked up toward Jason. "He is false," Connor said, before walking forward with the others.